Hello comrades, Commissar Bro here today with a quick review of Ultimate General Civil War. This is going to be a completely unscripted one as they kind of just popped it on us, and unfortunately I'm about to be gone for the next few days, so I will be unable to either stream it or do a full-blown video about it. So this is actually footage from an earlier version of the game, but from my experience and from what I played of the release version so far, it's not too far removed, and basically some of the stuff that I'm going to be showing in this particular video, or that's going to be occurring in this video, is about the same as what you can expect in the final released version of the game. So, with that said, essentially, there's a lot to say about this game, review-wise. The first being, this is honestly one of the best war games you're ever going to play, hands down. The ease of use of the systems in terms of how unit movement works, and the various intricacies of like the different gun values and the different unit types, it makes it a really fun, rewarding experience. So right off the bat, if you love Civil War games, if you love the idea of being your own Civil War general and so on, in a similar vein as the Total War games, then this is right up your alley. And this is something that you're really, really going to enjoy. With that said, I still have a few issues with the game that I find aggravating sometimes, but it's really more related to the balance of the game. I can't help but feel like certain segments of the game are not as powerful as they could be, or so on. But honestly, that's just me being picky after playing it a lot. Again, I have about 80 hours in this game, which I believe qualifies me for at least a decent opinion on how well the game actually is. Again, if you had to put like a score on this game, I would easily rate this game probably around like a 9 out of 10. Like, it is such a wonderful experience. It's such a good game. And you know, like watching the battles just like turn into these chaotic messes of smoke, like powder smoke, and like bodies strewn across the battlefield, craters pockmarking the surface all over. It's just an absolute just wonderful experience. Like I don't even know how else to really kind of explain that. It's just such a cool. It's such a cool game. Like, honestly, when it comes down to it, it's such a great game in terms of how war games normally work. So with that, because I can literally talk about this game for days on end, but some of the stuff that I think you should know going in. There is a campaign map. You basically build up your troops get experience, and you can customize the equipment of your units. Your units are divided into divisions and corps and brigades. Brigades being the actual units that you see moving on the map as a singular unit. Divisions making up, depending on your army's or army organization level and so on, making up this basically the size of that. I think in this battle, I'm unsure, but I think I had about 4 divisions per corps. Well, yeah, it says it right there. I'm blind as a bat. Yeah, so I have 4 divisions per corps, and each division is made up of like 4 brigades or something like that. So all in all, you should be seeing around, let's see, not counting my general, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 different brigades made up of cavalry, artillery, skirmishers, and line infantry. With that said, this game features several different unit types, being cavalry, skirmishers, line infantry, and artillery. Now, each one of those unit types can be actually customized. So take cavalry, for example. Cavalry can be 2 different types. It can be a little bit more close range, melee focused cavalry, or it could be skirmisher cav, meant for hit and run tactics. Now, it takes a little bit of micro for you to be effective with those skirmisher cavalry units, but they can be some of the most devastating units on the entire battlefield. Those units can also generally be dismounted from their horses to be used as singular skirmish units, as you can kind of see with McGinnis's troops throughout this battle, shooting and sniping the enemies from secured cover and so on. Line infantry is essentially the basics of what you would expect. They're like the big blocks of infantry that are really your heavy hitters. They're the guys who are probably going to dish out the most damage. They're the guys who are going to take the majority of shots fired at them. They're going to draw artillery fire and so on and so forth. But they're probably your most valuable units in terms of if they fall, no one else can take a hit. So, like, yeah, sure, it's cool if you build an army of skirmishers and you can sit there and snipe people, but if you try to go toe-to-toe with an infantry block, you're going to get defeated. You're going to get wiped. So that's how that'll work. You've also got artillery in this game, and that's another really interesting unit that I actually love the artillery in this game, the way it's depicted. Each artillery has a gun, like an actual gun type that you can choose, or each brigade is restricted to a singular gun type that it can use. So basically, starting out, you're going to be using 6-pounder field guns. 6-pounder field guns are not that great, but they're not that bad. They're good starter guns, essentially. They'll get the job done, but they tend to be better at a medium to close range. And artillery at close, a field gun at close range anyway, is going to fire buckshot. So essentially, it's literally firing like shotgun shells into whole blocks of infantry units, just completely annihilating infantry blocks at point-blank range. So it creates these strategies where you need to charge the artillery gun, or it creates these strategies where you need to keep the artillery behind your own allied infantry block, or you need to make sure that your units aren't getting caught out, and so on and so forth. So again, strategies sort of develop from how the different guns can be used and how the different artillery is effectively utilized. There's guns like the 10-pounder ordnance, which are a little bit better at long-range bombardment, or the 10-pounder Parrott guns. Eventually, you'll start creeping in to very modern-day weaponry for the time, being like the Tredegar. I think it's a 10-pounder Tredegar, and oh God, if I can't remember what it's called. Is it the Whitworth? I don't think it's the Whitworth. Basically, you're going to start creeping into some really big artillery pieces that do a lot of damage. But it doesn't, obviously, it's the Civil War, so these are still cannons, essentially. These are just cannons. You're not firing like Big Bertha over here from World War I. But it does play out in an interesting fashion. And again, you do get new guns and so on. Now, infantry blocks actually work the same way. All the units in the game work the same way. Their guns are all completely customizable. You can't really customize their uniforms or anything like that, which would be super cool. But, it is what it is. However, like, again, with the guns regarding infantry blocks and so on, you're going to start out with farmers, which are terrible, terrible rifles that can only fire at about 200 range. But eventually you're going to creep into the Fayetteville, which is the most modern gun in the game, which it has huge range and is an incredibly accurate rifle and can literally just annihilate whole enemy units, assuming, you've got some trained guys firing them. But they're incredibly valuable and incredibly scarce. And that creates an economy in the game that fluctuates itself in a sense. It causes you to want to perform better in your battles. So say, for example, I've only got 1,500 Fayettevilles, and I'm not going to get many Fayettevilles throughout the rest of the war. So it's up to me right now to not waste those Fayettevilles or not waste those units who are rocking the Fayettevilles. So if I've got 1,500 and I'm not going to get resupplied anymore over the next 3 battles, then it causes you to want to kind of baby that unit. So like if you lose 500 of those Fayettevilles, like 500 guys die and you only rescue 100 of them, you got 1,100 Fayettevilles left, then you're only going to be able to use 1,100 Fayettevilles in your future battles, which is not how you want to lose those. Those are really expensive guns and really valuable. So, again, an economy is created. Talking more on the campaign map, The campaign map features like actual money that you get for fighting the battles. If you get more money for winning battles, you have various traits as a commander that can secure you more cash, which can be then used to buy more guns, update your artillery units, update your cavalry weapons, and so on and so forth. But again, this is a game where it's all about balancing your forces. You can't just max out and have the best guns on every unit, no matter how well you perform. There's always going to be a limited supply of these weapons at some point, so you're only going to get so far with that. But you can have a really up-to-date modern army as far as the time is concerned, and have some really powerful weapons, assuming you perform very well and you learn how to effectively manage your troops in a way that minimizes losses and maximizes enemy casualties. With the current campaign dynamic AI, essentially, or the dynamic campaign AI that they've currently got right now, the game is more fair than it was prior to when this video was actually shot. So you're going to see me taking some really heavy casualties and stuff like that, but that's not really related to the AI. But anywho, I'm just bad at video games in general. No, but it's seriousness. Now you've got a dynamic campaign AI where it doesn't scale as bad. The AI will still, you'll see them throughout the campaign requesting reinforcements from like the president, and this, so Abraham Lincoln, or depending on which side you're fighting on, if you're fighting on the Union or the Confederacy. In this particular case, you would see him requesting reinforcements from Abraham Lincoln, and basically you kind of get a generalized idea of how big their troop pool is, and you can basically increase your reconnaissance abilities to make it to where you know exactly what you're going up against in the next battle. You know exactly how tired or how not tired enemy troops are. And you learn a lot of stuff about the enemy AI before you actually go into a battle against them. And I like how all these officers are just getting wounded. I'm kind of just ranting on because I'm watching the battle while talking at the same time. So pretty bad about that. Anyway, I could go on. Honestly, I could. This is a very informal review as far as it goes. But this is an absolutely wonderful game. If anything, it's a Civil War nuts wet dream. It literally lets you do the things you would want to do. You fight in some of the most iconic American battles in history, like Gettysburg and Antietam. And I will tell you, those battles, even in this game, earned the name that made them so famous. Antietam, like the actual casualties of Antietam for both sides, was somewhere in the ballpark of like 20,000 dudes. But when I fought it in the game, due to the large unit sizes and how many troops the Union was throwing into the fight, like it was like 50,000 casualties. It was crazy. Like the Union generals just refused to retreat, and our troops, of course, refused to give up as well. So the casualties just mounted, and it turned into a total bloodbath, more so than it was in the actual battle itself. So it's a wonderful experience. This is probably one of the best games I've played in years. If you follow my channel regularly, you'll know that I actually gave this game a slot on my top 10 games of 2016. So now that it's finally fully out and released, I can definitely say it still maintains that title. It's an absolutely wonderful game, and I fucking love this game. I've been streaming it like all week. I'm not very good at it, mind you, but I love it. I think it's so fun. Now, the one complaint, I have a couple of complaints, but from my experience of the game, and this is going to be, I'm going to keep this really short because, there's no reason to drag it on any longer. I have a couple complaints regarding the AI, how sometimes the AI can be stupid in the sense of targeting bugs where, like, your dudes won't shoot. I think most of those have been fixed with the most recent patch and the full updating to this game being a full release at this point. We'll see. I'll actually do more playing of it, and we'll see as we do a little playthrough, probably as the Union, since I played the Confederacy so many times. And the other complaint I have is the complete nerfing of Cavalry. Melee cavalry used to be one of the most effective units in the game by far. It had a place in the game. But in the current state of affairs, there's literally no reason, like how right now you can see me having these cavalry maneuvers, or you've seen them throughout the battle at some point in the video, where I've been moving cavalry around and doing some heavy micro with them, and even charging them into infantry blocks and routing infantry blocks. Yeah, no, that doesn't happen in the modern game. It does not happen at all. The way the game essentially operates now is that the cavalry just gets incinerated. Now, they can still do some serious damage, but it's such high casualties that there's no point to waste your money on them. You would be better spent building skirmishers, more artillery, or focusing on your infantry blocks and getting them better weapons. That's the one complaint I have, really, is they've nerfed cavalry so far into the dirt that there's literally no reason to use them at all. I believe personally that cavalry should be something to be, at this point in time, should still be something that is terrifying, something that can break whole infantry lines. And like, I understand if they're glass cannons, that's how they should be. But in the current game, they're not like that, which really sucks. But anyway, I could go on. So anyway, this has been Commissar Bro. Thanks so much for watching this informal review. I hope this helps you choose if this game is worth buying for you or not. I believe it is worth every single penny you'll pay. Currently, there's no multiplayer in the game, so go ahead and know that now when you're going into the game. There's no multiplayer to speak of. But they have not left multiplayer off the table. From my understanding, it's something they're still considering and thinking about. And if you want my honest opinion, that would only make this game a million times better. Like, you can see how these battles play out where I'm fighting AI and whatnot. Can you imagine this against an actual person? It would be wonderful. It would be wonderful. Anyway, this has been Commissar Bro. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this review. I honestly hope you buy this game. It deserves your money. It deserves your attention. It is one of the best games on the market, hands down, and I think that it is well worth your money and time. Anyway, this has been CB, and I'll see you next time.